As I've mentioned before, there are some scholars who argue that biblical religion, again, as opposed to Israelite Judean religion, what actual people were doing in Israel and Judea, that's one thing, but biblical religion, which is this exclusive Yahwism or the tendency towards monotheism, there are some who believe that biblical religion originated in the activity of zealous prophets like Elijah and Elisha in the north, doing battle with Baal worship. After the fall of the northern kingdom, those traditions, those Yahweh-only traditions, came south and were eventually absorbed in the Deuteronomistic school. So this, in fact, may be the origin of some of this, is this Yahweh-only party represented by figures like Elijah and Elisha. The conflict between the two cults, the Yahweh cult and the Baal cult, reaches a climax in the story in 1 Kings 18, this wonderful story, in which Elijah challenges the prophets of Baal and Asherah to a contest. We have to remember that a severe drought has fallen on the land, which Elijah attributes to God's punishment for Ahab's sin in introducing Baal worship on a broad scale. Now, Elijah is hiding from the king, who's very angry with him for declaring this drought in the name of God. After 3 years, he returns to Ahab. Ahab sees Elijah and he says, "Is that you, you troubler of Israel?" And the prophet responds, "It is not I who have brought trouble on Israel, but you and your father's house, by forsaking the commandments of the Lord and going after the Baals. Now summon all Israel to join me at Mount Carmel, together with the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah who eat at Jezebel's table," that are supported by the royal house. When all of these people are gathered, Elijah challenges the Israelites. He says, "How long will you keep hopping between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. And if Baal, follow him." You're hopping between two opinions. So it seems that at the popular level, there's no problem with integrating these two cults, but you have the prophets of both that are demanding a certain exclusivism. He's met with silence. So Elijah prepares for a dramatic contest. 2 bulls are slaughtered, and they are laid on altars, one an altar to Baal and one an altar to Yahweh. And the 450 prophets of Baal are to invoke their God, and Elijah will invoke his God to send a fire to consume the sacrifice. The God who answers first, or the God who answers with fire, is truly God. So the Baal prophets invoke their God, morning to noon, and they're shouting, "O Baal, answer us." And the description that follows is wonderfully satirical. But there was no sound, and none who responded. So they performed a hopping dance about the altar that had been set up. When noon came, Elijah mocked them, saying, "Shout louder. After all, he is a god, but he may be in conversation, or he may be relieving himself in the bathroom, or he may be on a journey, or perhaps he's asleep and will wake up." So they shouted louder and gashed themselves with knives and spears, according to their practice, until the blood streamed over them. And when noon passed, they kept raving until the hour of presenting the meal offering. So more hours have gone by, and still there's no sound, and none who responded or heeded. And then it's Elijah's turn.